right, Mr. Chairman.
We haven't.
Says we got 30 seconds.
Oh, yes, sir.
It prepares the
Oh,
lunch.
because the Zooms, okay.
Gotcha.
I will follow the rules.
Learned this yesterday. The Resilience Committee. Okay, there we go.
Jesus. Okay, it's 4 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. I'm Ron Ferretra, Chairman of the Commission on ADA. And we have any public comments? Anybody online have any public comments? Nobody. All right, so we'll move right along. Did everybody get the minutes of the March meeting and read them?
Yes, thank you.
I got an email.
I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor, say aye. All opposed, say nay.
Aye.
Can the folks hear us? Can we hear them? Can they wave their hands or something?
Annette just raised her hand.
Okay.
Did she say we're good?
She did.
Okay. All right. So
I
the
had a
minutes are
correction
approved.
to the minutes.
Right along.
Wait, Annette has a question.
I had a correction to the minutes.
Okay, a correction to the minute.
Yes,
Okay,
in the section where we're discussing, it says a discussion of the items of importance following exchange ideas with City of Charleston building officials, et cetera, et cetera. It says that I suggested that she spoke about the aging population of those with disabilities. No, what I said, I spoke about the aging population as well as those with disabilities. That's why it's enlightened self-interest, that even people without disabilities should be interested in accessibility.
Gotcha.
okay, you got that?
Thank you.
All right. Then the minutes will stand corrected.
Wait,
So what do we need to?
a motion to.
Yeah, we need another motion, I guess. Need a motion to amend the minutes.
I'll make a motion to amend the minutes
I
with
will
the
second.
necessary edits.
I will second.
All right. So we will approve the minutes. Move right along
As amended.
As amended.
as amended. Sorry, didn't say as amended. And Alex, you're up.
All right.
Yeah, ma'am.
So good afternoon, everyone. To give an update on our July 2025 ADA celebration event. Our committee met a couple weeks ago and are pulling the pieces together for July 23rd. And I'll just sort of go around the room to the committee members to give their updates. So I'll turn it over to Janet first.
My part of the update is that we have the speaker and we have made the appropriate payments to get her to come. I will speak also for Steve, who's doing the marketing for Charleston County Public Parks. They're going to be put together marketing information for us, and Mika sent the City of Charleston seal for the marketing purposes, and then we're going to work with the media. We're hoping Alex, and is Michelle on? No, Michelle. Okay, Michelle and Alex did a great job with that last year. We are thinking this year that we might have about 200 people, and we're looking for people to invite. If you have suggestions, please let me know. And additionally, Trey is not with us today, but he has set up a cake and flowers for the event. So that's where that part is.
Thank you. I'll turn it over to Mika for her.
Yes, as Janet alluded to, I provided Steve with the city's updated logo for digital promotion purposes, and some other brand guide information. I also was tasked with securing a potential sponsor for refreshments. And so happy to know, or happy to confirm that Odd Duck Markets is going to provide, help us out with refreshments. We're still refining the details about that and quantities, but they were very enthusiastic. I think all owners chimed in via email, managers and owners. So Odd Duck Markets is on our side there. I think that's all I had to take care of.
That's all.
I think that's
That's it.
it. Currently also working on a proclamation from Mayor Cogswell, so that could be presented at the event.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And then from my end, I secured the venue, which is going to be the Park Circle Community Center in the middle of Park Circle. I've got their layout form and all of those details. So as a committee, we'll go through that and make the layout for the room and make sure that we have audio visual and all those accommodations in place. I'm also working with trying to get Coca-Cola to donate some waters and other beverages.
I was gonna say, and Coca-Colas.
And other beverages as well. So that's in the works too. So I think that's all for me, unless someone has questions.
Yes, can you please say the date again?
It is going to be on Wednesday, July 23rd. And can someone remind me on the time frame? I know we've gone back and forth on that a little bit.
4 to 7.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. We're still putting like the program together, but there will be a national guest speaker who will be speaking virtually. And then we'll have vendors around the room of nonprofit organizations and other businesses where you can meet and greet and get to know other folks. So that's sort of the overview of the event.
The speaker has been engaged to discuss ableism. So we're kind of excited about that too.
That's all I have for our report.
Good job, Alex. You get this under control.
You have a great team. That helps.
Please feel free to reach out to me, Alex, if there's something I can do to help.
Thank you, Marka. Will do.
All right. Next item on the agenda is the discussion of items of importance regarding traffic safety for people with disabilities. I think Kyle James, Regional Planner, Berkeley, Charleston County Council of Governments.
That's right.
is gonna
Yeah,
speak
it's a long
to us.
name.
Berkeley, Charleston, Dorchester, Council. Okay.
It is probably one of the worst organizations out
It's a
there.
mouthful.
It's a lot. Or you can just call.
That's why everybody just says Council of Governments.
Or the cog.
No, I'm Kyle from the
Uh,
COG. Well, and do you mind pulling up that PowerPoint?
Oh,
So-
Annette has her hand raised.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Annette, go ahead.
Annette.
Yes, sorry to interrupt, but there was just a message on the cell phone that somebody's trying to get in, but doesn't have the link, and I can't see who it is.
It's
It's
Michelle. Thank you.
You want me to send that to her?
Yes, that would be lovely. Ask me if I know how to do it, and no, I don't. Thanks, Annette.
Do you want me to wait for Michelle to log in?
Yeah, we'll wait on Michelle. Should only take a minute or two.
I saw an airplane.
Yeah, because we need to ask her if she'll work with the publicity stuff for the event.
That was, yeah.
Is there an easy way to find the email?
Is there,
Just copy paste the header.
That's smart, yeah. That's
Okay.
I can invite, I should be able to.
Yeah. You have to share at the bottom or. Too many.
Yeah, invite. Thank you. And then,
Cheers.
well, that's Marnique coming in. I got her. I should be able to invite.
It is easy.
Much easier.
Marnique just came in.
Yeah, Marnique just came in and then.
I think she might have to do it.
Good afternoon.
Out.
I'm Marnie.
Oh, there she is.
Oh, good.
Teamwork, teamwork.
All right, is everybody there? Michelle, do you have anything to add to Alex's media?
I don't even know if she's been asked officially.
Yeah, Michelle, are you willing to work with us on the media things for the celebration like you did last year?
Yes, I am. I just got into the meeting. I was looking for the link, so I'm not quite sure what the topic was, but yes, I'm willing to assist with that as far as you mean Alex and I going on or whomever going on the news to talk about the ADA celebration.
That's exactly, we just want to, I think it did well last year. We got several people attending from y'all's effort. So I
Yeah,
would
of
appreciate
course.
it if you wouldn't mind doing that yet again. And we talked about stuff like food and flowers but all that's lined up and we will give a complete report on that in June.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, so we're back to you, Kyle.
Thank you.
You're up.
So, yeah, for those who are just joining, my name is Kyle James. I work at the Berkeley, Charleston, Dorchester Council of Governments, or just the COG. And I've got a brief presentation here, but also want to have a discussion with you at the tail end of it. To start out with, we are working on a regional safety action plan. So the safety being traffic safety, and it'll cover all of Berkeley, Charleston, and Dorchester counties. And we've got about a year to finish it. So we're maybe like a quarter of the way through the process right now. As part of it, you're able to go into presentation mode. Oh.
Oh, you're doing a great job.
Blocking my ability to play the
Well, maybe
So
we go
many
back to that
screens.
PDF version.
Yeah, the PDF.
Nothing I can do anything about.
No, it's not. It happens all the time.
Okay.
It happened to me yesterday.
No matter how many years I
Yep.
use the software, you get the one random day where the thing that you know works doesn't work.
PDF, the top file is the PDF.
I'm just gonna try. Oh wait, I think I got it. Okay.
There it is.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay.
There we go.
So we'll go to the second slide if you don't mind. And I'll just tell kind of a quick story. This past Christmas, I flew home to see family and left on Christmas Eve. And then next slide.
So, real quick, it's not showing,
Is on
there it goes, it's now showing full screen.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Is this?
That's it. Yep. So on that day, Christmas Eve, there were 0 air traffic fatalities. And that was expected. It was not in the news. Nobody celebrated it. It was a good day for traveling. Next slide. That same day, we had 102 traffic fatalities across the country. Also did not make the news, wasn't a big deal. But each of those were preventable. Now, of course, these slides may be a little old. There's been a few more hiccups in air traffic over the past 4 months, but in general, It is a safe way to travel, and in general, it is a much more complicated form of transportation than walking, biking, and driving a vehicle. So next slide. In our region, we've had 1,240 preventable traffic fatalities over the last decade, or actually I should say in South Carolina over the last decade. All of those could have been prevented. Yeah. So next slide. Our goal for this traffic safety action plan is to say that those crashes aren't acceptable, that we should find ways to make it safer to travel around, that we should not be the fifth worst state for bicycle fatality rate, the third worst state for pedestrian fatality rate, or the second worst state in total crashes, fatalities, and pedestrian and bicycle fatalities. We could do a lot better than that. And what has been really nice on the next slide is the Federal Highway Administration created a discretionary grant program called Safe Streets and Roads for All, or SS4A, which is missing a word in that act. But SS4A is a really, I think, thoughtful and good program. It also is kind of recognizing that we have a shared responsibility to proactively eliminate fatalities and serious injuries on our roadway network. And to go about doing that, on the next slide, they are providing funding for plans like the one that we're doing at the regional scale, demonstration projects and implementation projects. So being able to construct safety projects. This is the first time this has happened through FHWA. It's been around for, I think we're on now cycle 4. The call for applications is due in June. Now with our planning grant, we have the ability to look at things like travel behaviors that could improve safety, design and infrastructure, reducing speeds, what happens after you get in a crash, how easy is it to get to a medical facility, and then overall vehicle design. So we are trying to be pretty encompassing in the scope of this project, at least for our 3-county region. Next slide, please. But you should know that quite a few other municipalities in our region have also received funding. So the 2 highlighted in blue, the first one is the COGS plan, but also the city of Charleston received planning funds, and they are conducting a similar city level safety action plan. The towns of Moncks Corner and Somerville and the city of North Charleston also received funding, and they are still working through their financial participation agreement. It was paused a little bit after the change in federal administrations, but it seems to be inching forward again. And you can anticipate that those projects will start later this year, I think most likely. Then the town of Mount Pleasant received a truckload of funding to do 17 safety projects.
Cartoon eyes.
Yeah. And because they had completed a safety action plan, they were eligible to go after implementation funding. And that's basically where we want each of the municipalities in our region to get to. Now, Goose Creek also has 2 open projects, and Charleston County is working on a project. It is integration of their CAD to CAD system. So basically, if you have an emergency call that's near, say, Dorchester County or Berkeley County, there's kind of an automated system for finding the nearest emergency responder instead of picking somebody who's even further away just because they're across county lines. So it's a really good, smart project. And there'll hopefully be a few more grant funded projects in the next cycle. But for us, we do see it as a rare opportunity to think deeply about traffic safety issues. Normally, we just look at crashes. But if you don't mind going to the next slide, we are hoping to do something quite a bit deeper. So the schedule's off a little bit, but the main thing I wanted to highlight is that in addition to looking at where crashes happen, we want to look at where the risk of crashes are. So if you've ever gone down a street and you said, oh, I shouldn't be here, or I'm not making that left turn, or like this doesn't feel safe, so you no longer go back to it, that kind of adds up. We don't see as many crashes at those locations, but that doesn't mean they're safe. So we want to look at risk in addition to looking at crash history and the injuries that are created. We'll take that along with all the public feedback that we get as part of the process to develop a countermeasure toolkit. And then we'll prioritize those strategies, put them in a plan, and that way we can go after the implementation funding, right, whether it's at the regional level or at a city level. All right, next slide, please. So an example of what the end product might look like. This is an example of the high injury and risk factor map for a place I used to live out in Marin County, California. So it is combining crash history and the severity of those crashes, so fatalities and serious injuries, with places that have similar geometric design, but may not necessarily have the same history of crashes. That way they can get to a predictive crash score. And next slide, please. And they take that information and they look at the recommended safety countermeasures, how much they cost, and they prioritize them. We'll be doing the same. And then the next slide, we'll also have the ability to kind of dive deeper. So one difficulty in traffic safety planning is where. Like you could say an intersection, and that's pretty easy. But actually grouping of crashes along a corridor and picking where the corridor begins and ends is harder than you might think. And through this process, we've procured some really interesting tools to help answer these questions. The first one actually comes through SCDOT. They've given us a subscription to something called AshToWare, but basically for the first time, we can look at crashes more quickly, and this will be available to every municipality and maybe some other groups as well. It's kind of in a pilot phase right now, but previously you would have to beg for the crash data, bring it into GIS and do the work yourself. This is just there, and you can start to ask more interesting questions of what's happening at those locations and who is being injured. Another tool that we're procuring, or that we've already procured, is ortho imagery. And we're actually going to create an asset map of our entire street network. That might sound like something that, of course, we've already done. We haven't. We do know where streets are, but we don't know where sidewalks are. We don't have a ton of confidence in knowing how wide those streets are, or if there's pavement markings, or all the little things that add up to barriers when you're going through to your destination. So we'll have that for the first time, and that will help play into the high injury network. And then we'll also have the ability to do some visualizations. One area where a project could kind of fall off and lose its momentum is people don't have the imagination to read a table and go, oh, great, that safety countermeasure will save lives. We want to be able to illustrate that, sell it, and make sure that there's momentum to actually get to construction. So that's the general idea of the plan. Before I share some of the feedback that we've received so far, any questions on just the scope of the project?
I had a question regarding the asset mapping.
Yes.
What I've learned working with the city is just how many of our streets or roads are not owned and operated in a way that I think is efficient. So you have a lot of cross-jurisdictional challenges. Does that come into play in terms of assessing something?
Oh, very much so, yeah. So yeah, the ownership structure for roads is complicated within our region. I'm sure it's complicated elsewhere too. You could have a road that's owned by, say, DOT, but it's maintained by a county, and the city wants to do something on that road and make a specific change. So you need all three parties to work together on it. And you have every different combination of that. And also whoever owns it usually has the biggest say in what happens. The other complicating factor is if you want to try something new, that might scare some agencies because they want to be cautious. They want to do things that are proven, but proven in South Carolina. So we have to, and I think this is one of the more creative components of the SS4A program, is the demonstration grants, that we can do those smaller tests and show that something like, let's see here, that CAD to CAD system can work, that a unique pedestrian crossing that may exist everywhere else in the country, but we have no examples of in South Carolina. We could test it for the first time here. It'd be something similar to, say, the protected bikeway that's on Brigade Street. That's a good demonstration project. That it might not be the most important biking corridor in the city, but to show that the world doesn't the sky doesn't fall when you put it in. And cars and bicyclists can operate that space together more safely than previously is a good opportunity. So we will be looking for identifying what those demonstration projects are through this planning act.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
How do you factor in growth?
Oh, yeah, and that's a really good question.
Because that's the real problem.
Yeah, it is difficult, especially when you're talking about the history of crashes. So we set, separate from this planning process, every 3 years, the COG works with SCDOT to set safety targets. And those targets do take into account that our population has been increasing over time. So while I would like those targets to be 0 fatalities and serious injuries, in reality, those targets say we are accepting more fatalities and serious injuries over time because we're going to have more people. So while the rate of crashes and the rate of fatalities and serious injuries may decline, technically our targets are allowing some wiggle room to accommodate growth. For us, I think through this planning process, where we want to be is we want to know where there's going to be an increase in volume, whether that's motor vehicles, walking or biking, or riding transit, wherever that's going to go in the future, it's going to get more attention than, say, the existing conditions, because we know the problem could change in 5 years or 20 years. So it's an important factor. We have a step in our prioritization process to identify those growth corridors and incorporate them. But it's all based off of the data we have. And that can be a little fuzzy, or municipalities may approve developments that we don't know about 10 years from now. So it's like the best we can do at the moment. We'll incorporate that data in.
So if I'm understanding you right, we're going to live with the roads that we have. We're not going to make substantially any more new roads or widen the roads. We're just going to have to live with what we have in a safer manner.
Well, it depends if you're asking my opinion or what we're doing through this planning process. This safety action plan is just looking at safety countermeasures that we can incorporate into roads. But if we're talking big picture about the direction of our region's roads, I do think there's an argument that we've reached maybe a limit on we have lots of constraints in space, but also the maintenance cost for building new roads is pretty substantial. And there's a lot of evidence to suggest when you widen a road that you're not addressing traffic congestion in the same way.
Lanes, more cars.
Yeah. So those are difficult conversations and things that I, of course, don't get to make decisions on. But I think it's a good point.
Unfortunately, the public doesn't understand that public transportation will never be self-sufficient if all you talk about is the cost of the buses or the rail or whatever. But if you factor in the roads you don't have to build, it is well worth the money.
And I would share that opinion. I would say through the safety action plan, the one thing that we can address specifically is speed of vehicles. So often when we're talking about widening roads or building new roads, it's because we want to drive faster and get places quicker. That's as simple as it is. When we go out and listen to public feedback on projects, it's, will this cost me time? And that's a real factor. It's meaningful in people's lives. But we know that the difference between hitting a pedestrian at 55 miles an hour versus 45 miles an hour is a big difference in their survival rate. And of course, as you go slower, even better survival rates. Those all are important factors. So even if we do build new roads in the future, our ability to make those slower and safer roads still can be part of this process too. Okay, any other questions about the planning process? All right, so we'll go to the next slide. So the last thing I wanted to share with you, as part of this process, we have funding just dedicated to outreach, so engagement. It includes, let's see here, now it's at 3 sets of surveys. So we have one for the general public, we have one for emergency responders, and we will have one that's specifically targeted for people with disabilities, kind of written in a way that we can capture anybody who has maybe a visual impairment, so that it's a little bit more structured and easy to use than our general survey. In addition to that, we will be doing interviews. So what I'll be asking you here in a few minutes is if you have any suggestions on people to do one-on-one interviews with or groups to talk to, in addition to this group, I'd love to know about it. Those, I think, have the biggest influence on the outcome of our plans and the projects that get included in it. And then we've been also supporting all of those other municipalities who have plans within their workshop. So when they hear feedback, we're there to listen as well and incorporate it.
Will there be an opportunity to participate online?
Yes, through those surveys. Yeah.
But like the workshop, okay, just through the surveys.
Oh,
okay.
well, for each of the municipalities, they'll kind of choose their own in-person or public events. So for example, the city of Charleston, just this week, they had a pop-up event over at the West Ashley Farmers Market. And I know they had one other event that I'm blanking on, but they've also held a public meeting in this room. So they'll have other opportunities through their planning process that they're hoping to wrap up around July. And I'll be at most of those. The same with the Goose Creek, North Charleston, Somerville, and Monk's Corner ones. But yeah, if you have suggestions of other things that we could do to edit our public process, then we can incorporate it.
Very comprehensive.
Okay, good.
I
And
have a question.
yes, please.
So these surveys, there's no way that, like, I could say to you, please send me a link. I'd like to take one of these surveys.
We don't have them live yet, but when they are, I'll make sure that they get distributed to this group and everybody who's on this call. And in addition, if you have others who weren't able to make it today. Yeah.
No, so I guess what I'm trying to understand is, are these going to be sent out everywhere so that like all people have the opportunity to do this? Or are they targeting specific demographics? And maybe you answered that question, but I think I didn't understand.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So as I mentioned, we'll have 3 different surveys.
Right.
2 of them you'll have the ability to respond to. That's the general public survey. It'll ask a certain set of questions about travel behavior, like how people drive, what makes them feel safe, how comfortable you might feel running a red light if you're in a hurry, things like that. And we'll be comparing that against a national data set to see if our region is unique in any aspect, or if we have the same problems everybody else does. That way we can use the same solutions.
right,
The
that's
second
not my question. That's not my question is, how is this going to be put out to the public?
Yeah, that survey and the second survey that's targeted towards people with disabilities, they will be distributed through listservs, like this group, as well as a good number of other listservs that we've gotten access to. It'll be placed on our website, and then we'll share it with each of the municipalities so that they can distribute it through either their website or their social media. And then we'll also place it on our social media, and we'll do targeted ad purchases for the general public survey so that we can make sure it's getting in front of people as they're scrolling through Facebook or Instagram.
Because you have a marketing team.
That's right.
Right, you have a marketing.
Yeah. So we'll be relying on them. But if you have suggestions for other ways that we could push those 2 surveys out in addition to what I just described, I'm all ears, because that is always the biggest hurdle, is trying to make sure you get in front of everybody and that you're not missing any particular group, and that our responses are representative of our entire region.
I would just suggest that for the one for people with disabilities, maybe you could reach out to the different rehab hospitals in the area.
Okay, that's a great suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, along those lines of what Marco was mentioning, we can have you come out to speak to like our Spinal Cord Injury Association. I know others on the team here have their own groups as well. But from a media and marketing standpoint, are they targeted as mostly for social media, or you're looking at more media, like news media.
Yeah, the ad purchases, the dollars changing hands will be social media. We are also hoping to use some earned media to distribute, whether it's getting into a newspaper, but more likely it'll be a video news story on like the 5 o'clock news. I encourage people to take the survey.
Will we be able to, like, if I get the link and I send the link to someone else?
Yes. Yeah, it'll be the same link for everybody. So easy to share around, I hope. And we'll do the QR code stuff too for the people who like putting their phone up in front of their face and scanning stuff.
I like that.
Okay, any other questions about just that general engagement process or any other suggestions on the ways that we can make sure we get out in front of the right people? So the last slide I have for you, I just wanted to share back a little bit of the feedback we've received so far through some interviews. It's just kind of a snippet, but it gives you a general idea of what people are saying at the moment. And I'm going to read this out for the folks who are listening in on the call. But the first one is a pretty basic one, that striped crosswalks are great. But I think the more interesting part is they're better than the stamped brick sidewalks, especially if you're walking with, say, like a cane or in a wheelchair, that there is the risk of kind of catching a wheel or the cane within the divots of those crosswalks. So that's like a really good specific thing that we can change. That's a policy decision or a design decision. The second item on the bullet point list is the use of tactile lines, whether it's on a crosswalk or in the clear zone of a sidewalk. So the feedback we got is that we actually have pretty good clear zones in our region, including downtown Charleston, meaning you can walk down without risking hitting your head on something or having to weave a ton between street furniture and mailboxes and benches. But that other places, especially outside of the US, use these tactile lines. So if you have a cane, then you can follow that path of travel to the curb, to a business entrance more easily. This is not something that is common in the US, but it is an interesting idea that's worth considering. And it may require bigger changes in our design guides, because that is a pretty big thing. But certainly there are existing examples, at least through crosswalks in the US. All right, third item on the list is curb ramps. So this is a personal pet peeve of mine, but we have lots of bad curb ramp design in our region.
I'm sorry, are you talking about curb cuts?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's exactly right. So usually this is that little dip in a sidewalk that allows you to transition from the sidewalk to the street level and then back up again through a crosswalk. Obviously, it gets used in many other places too. The feedback that we've received is those diagonal curb ramps, the ones that lead you like right into the middle of an intersection.
45.
Yeah, those ones aren't great. They're cheaper and easier to put in, and sometimes there's cost constraints or drainage constraints that lead us to build them. But sometimes we do it because we're used to doing it. And we could be more thoughtful in having those more directional perpendicular ramps that channelize you into the crosswalk and give you a little bit more direction. The fourth item of feedback on the list was we don't have very much of this in our region or in South Carolina, but accessible pedestrian signals. This would be when you get to a crosswalk and you hit the button, in addition to getting like the walk signal and getting a stoplight, that you might have an audio sensor that helps give you some indication that the walk signal is turned on, or that the amount of time that you have to cross, or maybe even what location you're at. So that's pretty low hanging fruit. And there's certainly a balance there. There are some pretty aggressive accessible pedestrian signals that get pushback from people who work or live nearby, since they can be pretty loud, but that's not the only option. There's quieter or even vibrating options for people who are both blind and deaf. All right, got 3 more on the list here. The next one is bus operators. So our Carta bus system, some of buses have an enunciation system that will tell you where or what bus stop is upcoming and where you're at, but we could add that to more. And I'm hoping that we do. Right now, we're mostly relying on people to download our smartphone app, the transit app. And that will, if you plug in and you have the ability to hear through, like, say, a headset, then you can know what stop you're at and which ones are coming up. But we can also build that into the bus itself. The next one is there's some good feedback on smartphone apps that help with visual or interpretation of the built environment. So when you're walking around, apps like Area can help you navigate or access other people who can give you directions. And then the last one is, this is a big one downtown where all the construction cranes are. Well, we close off sidewalks quite often during construction sites. So being able to create alternative paths that aren't 3 blocks out of the way, or getting assistance at the site, whether it's through the developer itself or from somebody else for navigating through what is a much more narrow and usually a lot more debris on the sidewalk. It's been helpful. So that's what we've been hearing in general. We've got quite a bit of other feedback, but I'm just curious, what makes you feel unsafe when you're traveling? What are we doing that's a fixable problem?
I've heard one lately where on Route 61 near, there's a Head Start building there. It's before you, as you're leaving Charleston, it would be before you turn right on 61 to go down Asheville Road. That there's a bus stop, and it's a heavily used bus stop, and people just cross. It's instead of going to a light, and it's really difficult. The pedestrians seem to cross quickly and feel very knowledgeable, but all it takes is one person to trip and we got a problem. And there's no crosswalk painted there. What's that called, Alex?
That's 1 block up from Playground Road.
Thank you, 1 block out from Playground Road.
Yeah, and we've certainly been looking at more structured.
1392 Ashley River Road.
Perfect. Thank you.
Certainly.
Yeah, and the ability to put in new mid-block crossings to formalize those high crossing areas is a big deal. We have some block lengths that are miles long.
Yeah.
And if our expectation is that people walk half a mile one direction, cross the street and walk 3/4 of a mile back, it just doesn't happen.
No, and that only happens to people with disabilities. People who can walk without any mobility aid just run across the street.
Well, and I've seen people with mobility aids try to make those
Have you
difficult
really?
options as well. Yeah, so.
There was a lady that got killed on Meeting Street, right by the gas station and those apartments.
Yeah.
That was about 4 or 5 years ago.
And the police report blamed her.
Yeah.
That's right. So.
I live over in the Avondale area, and it's not just unique to that area, but I don't know why the striping, the crosswalk striping, it presents it presents you with a false sense of security when you can see bits of it. And we've had so many plans done over in that area. I think they might finally be getting ready to start there, but lighting and just on a safety issue. When I went to Philadelphia last fall, I could not believe how safe I felt walking around downtown Philadelphia without worrying about tripping, because the lighting was so great downtown.
Lighting's an amazing.
I mean, I walk downtown here and I don't feel because the older you get, the more you're kind of looking around, or you just don't feel as safe. But those crosswalks, and I'll save my lighting issues but I felt so safe walking around. Everything was so lit.
Before you ask, Bonnie, are you saying the Avondale crosswalks, they're really faded, so it's hard to see them?
Well, the one that's at the corner right over there by the cow.
Yeah.
And then there's the
Yeah.
other one on Wesley Drive over by the car wash. And we probably all know some that are in our particular area, but it does give you a false sense of security, because and I think they've done a good job about making sure that they're timed so that you do have enough time to get across. If you kind of go real fast. I'm just kidding. That would not be safe. I'm just kidding.
You're right. I live in Avondale too, and trying to get across to go to Harris Teeter and the like. And it's like roll, like you were, I guess Alex or somebody was saying, or Janet, you were saying, you know, walk half a mile that way to cross the street to go 3/4 of a mile back down the other way. And, you know, wheeling it is very challenging. All of Avondale along that part of 17.
Oh, it's not well lit, and if you want a specific one, over by where Triangle Restaurant is.
Oh,
that
that's
crosswalk,
terrible.
They
Yes.
have moved, by the way, to go straight into the bar.
Yeah.
So now they've actually moved the crosswalk to go straight into the bar. So if you're walking out of the bar, you can go straight across the street.
Yeah.
And sadly, we have had some fatalities there. Now, I'm not sure what condition people were in, but it doesn't really matter because it's,
A lot of bars there.
but it's not well lit. It's not, my point is that it's, because I had, but again, everybody living in where their own little area knows. I was interested in that 61 issue.
There's a big Pamela apartment complex back there, and a lot of people use the bus to get back and forth to downtown.
But talking about from a regional perspective, I have to tell you, I don't know if this is on your study, but driving on I-26 now, and for whatever reason, I have to go down 26. I have had to go down there a good bit the last couple of months. It is just, there, nobody's doing the speed limit. Nobody is, there is absolutely, this is the control that I would call it state troopers. There's no, I'm now going, sometimes go down 52 to avoid 26 because I'd rather take longer than, I mean, oh my, it's just so dangerous going down 26 now up to Somerville.
I blame law enforcement, and I've had an issue with this for years because I am a victim of traffic crime. And
Yes, you are.
I have tried and tried and tried to talk to law enforcement and my involvement with emergency services. And I had one police officer flat out tell me he didn't worry about traffic crime. He saved himself for real crime. And I said, what in the world's real crime if me sitting in here in a wheelchair is not traffic crime? And he said, oh, I'm talking about like drugs and domestic violence. That's real crime.
Perspective, huh?
Right.
Yeah. So
think-
I've been saying for years, there needs to be a campaign to get law enforcement to actually make the laws enforceable and the judicial system as well.
Yeah, was that Marka?
Yes.
I want to reiterate that, and it's something that Alex mentioned as well about the fatality that ultimately ended in the pedestrian being cited as the problem. I will say that I in that Avondale area, you see a lot of the signage about the Heads Up campaign, which puts the onus on the pedestrian versus addressing the issue at the root cause, which is how do we make these streets safer and more navigable for folks with, of course, disabilities. But overall, everyone's being impacted, but chiefly folks with disabilities who are having trouble, traversing the streets. Like how that's a culture concern. I understand that in terms of how to position it as hey, this is a root cause issue. Blaming individuals is never going to be the solution. But how do we kind of have those difficult conversations? I don't know if there's space for that in this work.
About traffic behavior.
Absolutely, and with law enforcement,
Yep.
to Marcus, like I've heard it too, unfortunately, on the news, or people are distracted or people need to pay more attention. The onus is not always on folks, individuals. It's the culture around how we live as community members. You mentioned the Philadelphia experience. I went to Boston recently. The cars yield to pedestrians. Like you talk about, I didn't have to worry about. I could have been laissez-faire and just
Learned behavior,
learned behavior, and I'd love to see Charleston embrace some of that. And I don't know, again, if there's space to even just have that dialogue about the root causes and not blaming individuals, especially individuals with disabilities. Yeah, I don't know. This one
There needs to be a lot more lighting
big time.
around intersections that have crosswalks.
Yes.
And that King and Calhoun, you have the crosswalks, but you don't have the white lines. And if I recall, that's one of the most dangerous intersections.
Oh, sure.
Yes.
And there is,
It doesn't have the white lines, so you can't see.
I've got good
Maybe there
news.
now.
What's that?
Are they there now? Are the white lines there?
There are, it's not a ladder style crosswalk that you're talking, but it does have just the basic ones.
Okay,
But I've got good news for you,
Yeah.
that there is a project at that location. It's, when we're talking about those demonstration projects, the things that we don't have a lot of examples of, but that once we have one, we'll have 100 of them, like roundabouts. Is what we call a barn style or all pedestrian phase diagonal crosswalk. So basically, it'll be just one phase where no cars can turn. And
Yes.
pedestrians can go.
There should be no right-hand turn on red. There should be, there's not, shall be any right-hand turn on red at that intersection. It's
Yeah.
dangerous.
Yeah, but having that all pedestrian phase is a step in that direction. It also has the bonus for really high pedestrian volume locations like that of improving operational efficiency of cars. And so we're gonna do that, or SCDOT is planning to do that with the city at both the King and Calhoun and St. Philip,
Oh.
and 2 down by Market. So.
Yes.
Well, that's good.
So hopefully those are pretty far along. Hopefully we get to implementation soon on them.
So I had a follow-up question. Specifically, I know Mount Pleasant has received a surplus of funds because they're in the implementation phase.
Mhm.
But I've also heard through the grapevine that they've been working, I guess, using algorithms to help time their traffic lights. I don't know if they're where that is, but I wanted to know whether or not that's something that the city of Charleston could consider, and how would that help? Would that help potentially make streets safer?
Oh, yeah, I guess there are 2 different questions, right?
Yeah.
And the first is the city of Charleston specifically doing it? The answer is yes.
Okay.
The city's been retiming signals. So the technology that they use differs based on the location. A lot of that goes back to the potential of the traffic equipment at that location. Those aren't cheap things, but the city has been upgrading their equipment at many locations. And we're working on some additional spots. Now, there's a more interesting project. The city received a SMART Phase 1 grant from the Federal Highway Administration on a good portion of Calhoun to look at predictive crashes and how they interact with like the traffic signals. So it's a long-term project. They're kind of hoping that they can give people a heads up if somebody's speeding and there will be a conflict, that they can measure that and send alerts through your phone. So it'll be interesting. We'll see how well it works, but it's always nice to try.
It was like Minority Report.
Pre-crime, that's right. You get the precox out.
Yeah, oh yeah, you remember the guy.
I've read all the Philip K. Dick novels.
So now our phone's gonna say, instead of
Yep.
police ahead, speeder ahead.
Oh, you're
Well, I
just-
know in Japan, they've been using that pedestrian only phase for years and years and years, and it works really well.
Yes.
Really?
And we
Oh,
have
yeah.
locations where that could be a good safety countermeasure in addition to the downtown, like go to Folly.
Oh, yeah.
Like the big pedestrian crossing there at Ashley and Center
Yeah.
Street. That's a great example. Sullivan's, you could do the same. There's a lot of places where this could apply and improve safety, but it just takes getting a couple examples to get us rolling on it.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So people in our region really care about this topic, and we're seeing good projects. They take time. And the same when we're talking about law enforcement and the travel behavior, those are really long projects, and they're hard to do, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't try to do them.
Good. Now, so you're gonna send the link when you have it,
When it goes
that we
live,
can distribute it.
that's right.
to. And
I was
approximately,
hoping it'd be available like 2 months ago, so I'm hoping in the next month we'll have it.
Okay.
live, yeah. At least it should be. So, and just to make sure you're good on time, I don't want to
yeah,
take up any more of your schedule.
Okay.
no, I'm still looking for oxygen.
No,
I'm
no,
certain
no.
I've got
Don't let
oxygen
that get-
somewhere that I can put in my lungs.
Don't let that get in.
So just the last slide on
Okay,
that
last slide.
is just my contact
Oh,
information.
great.
So I know sometimes, at least for me, when I'm in a meeting and the idea that I wanted to share will happen later that night or the next morning when I take a shower or something. So if you have good ideas in addition to filling out the survey or coming to any of the public events or suggesting interviewees, feel free to contact me by phone or email, and it all goes to the same place. And I share it, especially if you have a City of Charleston specific issue, I share it with their team so they can incorporate it into their safety action plan too. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I really am.
No, that, yeah, just exit out those people.
I don't think we want that guest anymore.
No.
No.
Who does that?
That's the first time that's ever happened.
It's okay.
The weird
Not your
society
fault.
that we live
Exactly,
in.
it's not your
I
fault.
will tell you, I had a website for a project taken over by ISIS once.
Oh my gosh.
Why? Why?
Like,
Why me? You know? Oh my
right.
goodness.
Why disability commission, like, of all things, the bomb, okay.
Okay.
All right, moving right along.
You okay, Haley?
Not anyone's fault.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, both host and co-host, thank you. What was I gonna ask?
No, I honestly don't know how to solve that because it has to be a public meeting, so we have to let in a guest.
True.
And
Good point.
we have people that are out there that
It's
Are
advertised,
malicious.
you know.
Yeah.
in their behavior, they think it's funny.
There's a way, I think there are some safeguards,
I know they're in a waiting room, but I don't know
Yeah.
how to preview them.
like.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
problem.
A verification step or something we could require. I think Jennifer shared something, but we could figure that out. Yeah.
Okay, now back on track.
Yeah.
Right along.
Can I comment though? Because as you begin to present, it jogged my memory that I was on the call with you and Katie
Yeah.
with the
And I actually saw Amy Hatton.
yeah. Yeah, yep, Amy, and it was Gina Applegate. I just want to say, it feels like a lot of the feedback that they shared about their
Great.
experience. Yeah, I just want to say just kudos to you for like, I can see that you're really incorporating that. Oh, yeah, I'll yield this.
You're good.
Oh,
Thank you so much. Thank you, Howard.
Yeah.
Great job.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it was a great job.
Yes, you did a great job.
I really learned a lot. Oh, and you're sharing the presentation, is that shareable?
Oh, yeah, I'll be
Okay.
happy to. I'll send it to Janet.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
Thank you.
I did have a question. How can we get in touch with you to come to another group?
Oh, well, take down that contact info. I'll also give you a card if you want.
Or I
Or
can send
write
it to you
down.
too.
Yeah, whatever you prefer. And you just tell me when and where. I'll show it.
Isn't that good?
Anything else? If not, Janet's up.
Sorry, quick. There's been a request for a discussion of universal design with accessibility patterns. And Morgan Gunlach, who is our city designer, is going to come probably in August, maybe September. We have to nail it down. She's been putting together a whole presentation on how the ADA and universal design overlap. And that should be interesting. And then I wrote it down in the minutes for you, that Jane Mattingly's book is entitled This Body Grief, Making Peace with the Loss That Comes with Living in a Body, which I think is hilarious because all bodies fail, it just happens. And her book I was impressed to read. It's available in a lot of different venues and places. And the Kindle is $15.99. And it gets really good reviews. This one had 4.42 stars out of 5. She's one of our commission members who's not with us this evening. And if you want, I printed out something about the book and something about Jane. So if you'd like to have those, you're welcome to. And if anybody wants me to send those to them, let me know. I'd be glad to. So
Jen,
it's
can I-
kind of funny. The first sentence starts out with, have you ever felt uncomfortable in your own body? So it goes from there.
Okay.
I just want to add that it is on Audible and Jane reads it and it's beautifully done.
Oh,
I
nice.
highly recommend the book.
Nice. I didn't realize you read it. That's great.
Oh, yeah. I've been waiting for the book for over a year.
Oh my God.
Oh, it sounds really good. So
It
I'm
really
looking
is
forward-
very well done.
Looking forward to reading it. And that's all for today.
So you have?
Mhm.
Anybody have anything else? Our next meeting is June 20th,
Okay.
4 o'clock. Same time, same place.
Rock and roll.
And the committee, the celebration committee will meet next week on Wednesday at 5 p.m.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay? Thanks, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, all
See you
right.
Have a
next
great
Close.
weekend.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
We're adjourned.
Thank you.